He has appeared in some of my favorite shows. Kevin Cassidy stunted in numerous Marvel Cinematic Universe films, including Spiderman Far From Home, Avengers Endgame, Black Panther, Captain America Civil War, plus The Dark Knight Rises, Salt, and Sons of Anarchy. He has also acted in the Sleepy Hollow television series. Cassidy was lured away from Hollywood to teach others confidence and to learn the value of teamwork, humility, and poise with his Ninja Warrior training gym for youth. His book, Falling Down to Find Myself, provides a glimpse into his life as an artist and how he overcame childhood bullying and adversity. Please welcome Kevin Cassidy.
Thanks for having me, Debbie. Looking forward to it.
Your birth defect, now that you're older, do you kind of feel like it might be a blessing now? How did it shape your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I touched on that in the book. It definitely, I think I articulate it in a way that everyone is always dealing with something. It could be problems at home. It could be, food insecurities or any other insecurity. And luckily for me, I couldn't hide from mine or brush it under the rug. It was literally on my face and how I spoke, and I had to figure it out and fight it head on and come to terms with it. So I think that definitely shaped my personality a lot and did me was very very helpful for me in my adult life and my personality and my character.
How many surgeries did you have to have and how painful were they?
I had seven major surgeries and a bunch of smaller ones. The Every time they would go in and cut, so I was born with a bubble around my mouth pretty much. So they had no roof of my mouth, no teeth, no gums, no nose. So all that had to be kind of created.
Mm.
I remember some of the early surgeries, they didn't have stitches that would dissolve. So after the surgery, I had to come back in and get the stitches pulled out, and there was no anesthesia or anything for that. So that was
Mm.
painful. And then in seventh grade, they took bone out of my hip and created the roof of my mouth. That was one of the bigger ones, and that was pretty
Oh.
painful. I had to walk with crutches. So the hip pain was one, and then obviously the mouth, and you can only eat soup for a while and try to go to school, and those are the two probably more painful ones.
And we all know that kids can be pretty awful in school. So, with all the bullying that you endured, did you ever feel like giving up?
No, I don't know if it's the nature, nurture, or just how I was, put on this earth. I've always been pretty stubborn, and uh, I didn't. One of the bigger things, well, I couldn't see my face, so I wasn't reminded how I looked all the time, so I would forget about that. And I didn't really hear myself talk the way other people did, so I wasn't as insecure with my outward everything I was doing until people would bicker and laugh and the bullying started. I'm like, oh yeah, I forget I talk like that. So yeah, well, it wasn't. I never had anything to give up. I had, still had good friends. I was always athletic, and I played sports, um, and all the bad. It wasn't. I don't think anyone. Who knows? But everyone has their own experience. But it's not 99% of the time you're being bullied. It's probably
Yeah.
15, 20% of the time. So you focus on even friends of mine who would bully or tease me, and I give them a side look. I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. So finding out where that line was and being able to laugh with them if it was clever and good jest was something that definitely built my character as well.
Mhm. And of course, you mentioned athletics. You seem to channel that frustration or anything, all of that energy into athletics. So, as you got older, why slam ball?
Oh man, because I was the only thing there. I was a teacher in Baltimore City, outside DC, and then also in Baltimore. And me and my friends saw it on TV, and we watched it at night. And man, that'd be really cool. I think I'd be good at that. Probably everyone in the world, when they saw that TV show, they thought they could do it. And there was a tryout for it in Philadelphia. One of my best friends was from Philly. We were teaching together, we drove to Philly for the weekend to go to this tryout, kind of as a goof. Uh, and I made it, and I made it to the next round to LA, and I was a free trip to LA for 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. And I made it again. And I guess I'm going to stay here for about 6 months. So it was something I kind of just fell into.
And somebody actually opened that door for you to get into the entertainment world. So tell us about that person.
Well, her name is Amy. She's still in the entertainment world. She's doing an awesome job, and she specializes in sports movies. So any football, baseball, basketball movie, she probably has a hand in choreographing the action and hiring the people who do all that. But before that, she was an athletic trainer in slam ball. So while I was playing slam ball, she was taping ankles and hanging out, and we became friends, but not great friends. We knew each other. We worked together all the time, and the first movie I got a chance to try out for a year or so later, The Longest Yard, Adam Sandler, Burt Reynolds, and a pretty big movie, and a big casting call in LA. On hundreds of people show up to try to get on this movie. And it was another tryout, and this tryout, I wasn't good enough. I was pretty good. I was close. I was a bubble guy, but there were guys who were just getting out of NFL. We're running a 40. It's a legit combine type tryout, and I shouldn't have made it. And every day they made a cut, and every day I made it.
Huh.
End of the day, the hiring coach says, "Hey, we're gonna bring you to this part of the movie, but then when the other part of the movie happens, we're gonna replace you with a better player." I said, "So I'm in the movie?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, that's all I need to hear." Figure it out. And his assistant was this woman, Amy. And behind the scenes, she was vouching for me, saying, "Hey, this guy's going to show up. He's tough. He's athletic. He'll be in the right spot at the right time. He'll be respectful. All those intangibles." She was vouching for me behind the scene, and that's what got me into the movie. And that's what got me into
Mm.
Hollywood. And 18 years later, I was looking for an escape from it.
Wow. And of course, that movie you kind of drop kicked your way in as well.
Yes, I kicked down the door, if you would. uh, yeah,
So, how did you prepare for that first role, like when you were in the longest yard, and how nervous were you nervous at all?
yeah, I was a little nervous. Well, it was a very lucky experience to have that be my first movie because Adam Sandler and all his crew are just the nicest people in the world, very humble and friendly, and everyone's treated as an equal. The director was super nice, so all those negative stereotypes you hear about Hollywood wasn't on this movie. It was a really cool, great place to work. On top of that, because we were doing all this football action, all the football, all the plays are choreographed. So Adam Sandler, Burt Reynolds, Terry Crews, Nelly, all the guys that were in the movie, they had to come to training camp with us a month or 2 months before the movie started and learn all the football plays. So we
Hmm.
went to training camp with all the actors and all the stunt people, and we sat in the locker room. We had the X's and O's, and you go here, you go here. The camera will be here. We're going to do the hit here, and we practiced for about a month or two before we shot. So by the time we got in the movie set, we were already pretty comfortable with everybody. But when the cameras come out and the lights and it was, doing the first when they called action, I was like, "Oh, I hope I don't mess up." So it was definitely a little butterflies at that point, but it was a very good experience to kind of ease my way into a big movie set like that.
What skills do you kind of need for stunt work?
Uh, Everyone brings a different physical skill to the table. I have friends who are cowboys, rodeo people, Red Bull skydivers, gymnasts from Cirque du Soleil, motocross
Hmm.
people, martial artists. I was just like a baseball, football athlete, slam block. I could kind of do everything pretty good. So everyone had a different physical gift they would bring, and everyone was obviously very talented in that aspect. But the biggest thing for success in that business is showing up on time. It's all word of mouth. There's no agents, no managers, no auditions. A couple times there's big casting calls. That's the longest yard, but
Hmm.
for the most part, it's you're getting a referral from a job from somebody else, and uh, you got to put your best foot forward and know your role. If I got called to do a backflip on a motorcycle, like I can't do that. You got to call somebody else. Even though I might need your money and be broke, I'm not going to take that job because tomorrow I'm going to have to do that stunt, and they're going to find out I can't do it, and I'm going to ruin my reputation. So it's kind of very self-regulated in that way. So, but
Yeah.
people who just showed up over time and were nice and hardworking and worked on their craft and got a little bit better and kept showing up. There's a stuntman softball league, a stuntman golf tournament, stuntman charity events. There's a whole stunt community. If you just keep showing up in a positive way, you'll trickle in there if you have the physical ability. On top of that,
We getting back to that motorcycle scene, I mean, when you think of stunt work, it does sound pretty darn dangerous. And so I guess even if you think you can do it, there's got to be a level of fear there. And it, how dangerous is it?
well, I call it controlled chaos. Like I said, if I got called to do that motorcycle scene and do a flip on a motorcycle, I've never done that. So I shouldn't take that job. But if I do take it, it's going to be very dangerous for me. I'm going to probably kill myself. The next guy who does that all the time, it's easy for him. That's not that dangerous for him. That's what he does. Put
Mm,
that guy in a football field and have him get run over by a 300-pound guy, he's probably going to get hurt. I've done that 100 times. So as long as you stay in your lane, the
right.
danger is a little bit not as severe, and we have time to practice and rehearse and tweak it as much as we can for safety. Because the producers and the directors and the studios found out it's a lot cheaper to give us time to prepare than to pay our medical bills.
Yeah.
So
So it's kind of like self typecasting in a way.
yeah, yeah. And then as you go, like I started doing the football movies, and I learned how to do fight scenes. I learned how to drive a car. I learned how to do martial arts. I learned how to do high falls. So you train in every other direction, so you can take more calls and more work and build a bigger, bigger resume.
So which set was the most demanding to work on, physically demanding?
For me, it was a movie called I Am Number Four. It was I mean, 2008 maybe. It was kind of like just after Twilight was really big. They were trying to make
Mhm.
all these movies with really pretty young people with powers and love stories, and it was actually a good movie. I played one of the main aliens, and I was also a stunt double for another guy. And I did a lot of behind the camera work, helping the fight choreography, and I also did a lot of the stunt rigging where um, if you're gonna throw me through a window, you gotta put a wire around my back, put a pulley system somewhere, and someone hits a button to fly you. So we would organize and design those systems that would pull and manipulate people, flying Spiderman or so I was on like a bunch of different teams in that. And one of the main things I did was play this alien. So it was 4 hours of prosthetics every day to get the alien
Wow.
stuff on. And a lot of the sword fight and fight scenes, I'm the bad guy, so I get beat up and blown up every day, and a lot of it I was walking on stilts, so physically
Oh,
uh,
jeez.
demanding. And then when I would get off work, I would come work the next day super early to help build the pulley systems. And then the next day I'd be in an alien suit, and the next day double the different actor. And so it was an awesome. Like, it was one of the jobs I've learned the most from and grew the most. And the coordinator and the director and all the people in that movie were just awesome to work with too. And so that was one of my most physically demanding, but also probably most rewarding movies I did.
Oh, when you think of those physical demands too, this cannot be a career that it can last forever. You've kind of it's kind of like a pro athlete, right? Your body can only take so much.
Yeah, for sure. And luckily, there's a path behind the camera. So my last probably 8 years, I was more specialized in the rigging aspect, building the pulley systems, being a coordinator, hiring the people, um, doing the budgets, and kind of doing the breakdowns, and pointing somebody else. You fall down those stairs. I'm gonna stand over here. So
Did you ever have a stunt double for your own acting jobs?
I did not. No, a couple of my stunt friends have though, and it's pretty funny. And it
Did you
makes
like
sense.
acting too? Did you like it as well?
I like the physical acting, like the fights, and because a lot of if you're a really good performer in fight scenes, which they've definitely ramped up since a lot of the stunt people, Sam Hargrave and a couple other groups have really dialed in this, fight scenes in his movies. Um, there's a lot of acting in there. There's a lot of small beats and looks and energy, and so the physical acting I really like. But I think part of my speech impediment and everything, I really wasn't raising my hand to go talk too much. I got the same amount of money where if I said a word, or if I didn't say a word, and just shoot me, and I'll go over here. You guys have fun.
So you also worked on some great music with some great music performers in their videos. How different is that work compares to film and television?
It's crazy different. Film and television. I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. There are unions, there are carpenters, electricians, and there's a lot of rules and regulations, and it keeps everybody safe, and it keeps everybody making good money, and keeps everything above the table. And I did I think 4 or 5 music videos. I didn't do that many, but it's kind of a lot of under the table stuff. We would get paid in like envelopes of cash at the end of the day, and it was definitely not as uh, like we I had to do a scene with Rihanna. And we had to teach her how to. I'm sorry, it was Rihanna and Nicki Minaj, and Nicki Minaj was the person we had to teach a fight scene to. And they're like, "Oh, you're not allowed to have her." I was like, "Well, you hired us to teach them how to fight these like 5 ninjas, so we have to have a day to rehearse with her." No,
Yeah.
you can't. That's your music video. That's fine. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to look like crap if you don't have time to rehearse this. Finally, we agreed to do it, and she was awesome. She showed up early and worked her butt off. But there's so many handlers there. Like there are so many people who are kind of making money off of them. In my limited
Right.
experience, that um, they don't really want you to interact with them that much, and then you kind of lose their influence. And it's way different in movies where you would work with whoever, and you would have they would be like Tom Holland, Spiderman. He would be in our stunt um, rehearsing space for you know, 3 days a week, hanging out, doing stuff. He wants to be better at Spider-Man, and we teach him how to ride the wires. And he's unbelievably athletic, and there's not a lot of layers between that in a lot of movies. If you want a good stunt relationship, or if it's an action movie where you value the stunts, and in the music business, it was definitely everyone was trying to separate everybody else and
Wow.
get money and get out. It's definitely a little more shady, for lack of a better word. Again, limited experience. I only did four or
Yeah.
five music videos, so I'm sure it's not all that.
It's kind of unnerving, though, really, when you think of it, because I mean, that's when you all I can think is the Britney Spears situation,
Oh yeah,
but I mean, yeah, that's really, you
yeah.
kind
Well,
of wonder about that, how sheltered, and I've seen that with athletes too,
sure.
pro athletes, where it's who you surround yourself with, right?
And a lot of people who are making millions of dollars off of you don't want you surrounded by anybody else. They need to build that
Yeah.
bubble to keep their job, pretty much. And it happens in in music a lot more than movies. And that's why people like I don't Britney Spears. I worked with her. She was just not, and she's gone up and down, I'm sure, but she was famous since she was like 5. So she's always had that.
Yes.
So her reality is different than anyone else's reality. And
Yeah.
I get it. It's a hard world to live in, to be normal, or uh, and then you see a guy like Justin Timberlake who did the same thing and seems to be a completely normal person. So
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit for navigating that and having his feet grounded. I've never met him, so I'm just
Yeah.
assuming that's but so I've
I
heard
wonder
he
if
is.
it's different for the ones, the singers and musicians that have been in film, where they have a different experience.
Yeah, maybe got humbled a little bit and put
Yeah.
themselves out there for sure. Yeah.
So, your book highlights some of your ups and downs. And what compelled you to write it? And was it a good part of your healing process?
Yeah, I always went to writing for my healing process. Even as a kid, I would write some poetry, or write essays, or write stories, and I was always a pretty good writer, and I enjoyed it. It was a good outlet for me, intellectual outlet. I was always fairly smart, um, but would rather be a linebacker on the football field. So, so that intellectual outlet came a little bit later than I needed. So I always was writing, and I knew I wanted to get out of stunts. I was always driven to be a mentor, a teacher. I was an education major. I was a teacher for a while, and slam ball and sports, and stunt work took me away from that. And I always want to get back into that. It's what kind of fulfills me, helping kids and coaching and all that. So when I was leaving Hollywood, I knew I wanted to do something with that, and then speaking engagements and mentorship programs and all that. I was wondering what I can do to make some money and also build a brand a little bit. Um, so I decided to write the whole book, write it all out. and then I can pick pieces of whatever's important for different speaking engagements. I do corporate team building events at my facility that I own. I'm meeting actually tomorrow with some principals of middle schools to write a curriculum based on my book and my experience and my
Hmm.
philosophy to help teachers and students alike kind of. So a bunch of different paths are going, and as I was writing a lot of content about just stories or experiences or philosophies I've learned from my experiences. At the end of the day, it was easier just to write it all, be done with it, write the whole story, and then pick from there. So,
And tell us about Ninja Warrior. Explain that program a bit.
so when I was leaving Hollywood, I had the plan to do the writing, to do the mentorship programs and all that, but that was more a passion project, and I didn't really care about monetizing that as much. But I needed money, so I was going to open a Ninja Warrior parkour gym, and I had a whole building designed. I had partners and investors, and uh, in looking at all the ways to do that, I was researching other businesses who were similar to it. And one business I found was Ninja Nation. They're based in Denver, Colorado, and they were doing a lot. It was beautiful. Their space was awesome. And I thought, oh man, this is the first company I saw doing this right. They really figured this out. It's awesome. So I went out there to Denver, and they were just opening it as a franchise. So there were three corporate locations. They were just starting to sell franchises, and I ended up partnering with them to open one of their franchises in Charlotte. My big ROI was my time. I have three young kids, so big motivation leaving Hollywood is be around my family more. And if I did that just to open up my own business, I would live in that business 90 hours a week for 2 years, and I'm not going to stay in Hollywood for 2 more years if I did that. So I partnered with the franchise, and our philosophies were very similar, and the business model was very close to what I was going to do. And so we've been open 15 months now, and it's been great. So it's a 11,000 square foot Ninja Warrior training facility. We have summer camps, after school programs, birthday parties. We have a competitive team. We have a development program. So we say you can play, train, or compete. So you can come and play, come to open gym, and
Mm.
just run a Ninja Warrior course. Or you can train, join our development program and get classes like a gymnastics studio and get better, stronger, more balanced, all that. Or you can compete and join our competitive team and compete all around the country. So it's a really fulfilling job.
How have you seen the impact of the Ninja Warrior program? How have you seen that impact some kid? I mean, you've probably seen some individual stories that have really kind of, oh wow, this is really cool what I'm doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I opened. That was a goal, and to see that in real life is pretty cool. So one of the reasons I did that instead of like a baseball, football, or basketball business is because those sports get monetized at such the kids get monetized at such a young age. If you're really good at football or baseball at 8, there's someone in your ear. Go to this travel team, pay this money, go to this training
Mm,
facility, get a scholarship, go to Stanford to do all this. I'm like, oh man, let the kids just play and compete just for the sake of playing and competing. And it's hard to find that nowadays. And
yeah.
this Ninja Warrior sport has that. You can't go to college for it, can't go to pro for it. You're just going to compete for the sake of competing. You're going to try to jump from here to there, and you're going to fail. You're going to do it 5 more times, and you're going to fail. And then eventually you're going to get it. And like, holy cow, that was awesome, and you can do that times a million in this facility. So I've seen a lot of kids come from gymnastics who were kind of bubble good enough maybe to be the competitive team, but just it was soul sucking. They didn't like it was too serious. At 10 years
Mm.
old, they're just you know 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, and they got tired of it. They came to our gym and they're just flourishing. They're loving it. They're smiling. They're being competitive. They're being strong. They're all the things they want. They're getting. And then even some kids we have a couple kids on the spectrum. Um, One's probably have Asperger's, and a couple other special needs kids who just their macro movements and walking on uneven places, and seen a really good results of some special needs kids in this environment really flourishing and smiling and confident. So it's been pretty awesome.
So what's next for you? Would you go do more films?
Yeah, that part's hard. I actually went and worked on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 a couple months ago. My friend, luckily, I left at a high enough level where all my peers are now hiring people for big movies, and I can just call them, and we came up together. So a really good friend network there. my phone was always ringing to jump on a movie. And the problem with that is the schedule changes. Like
Yeah.
you're on a movie and hey, we're working tomorrow, 5 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. Like, great, I'll see you in the morning. You got a call at midnight. Oh, we're not doing that till next week now. We're going to fly to Philadelphia tomorrow. We're going to do this scene.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And you just got to go. It's not always that bad, but the schedule changes last minute all the time.
Mm.
And I have 3 young kids, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And I'm doing 90% of the mommy daddy daycare. I take the kids to school and pick them up, and the business allows me to do that, and the writing and the podcast and all that stuff allows me to have my family be number one. All this other stuff, 2, 3, 4, 5. Um, so it's hard for me to commit to do a movie because I know they're going to change the schedule. I can plan it a month away. Okay, a month from here, I can be there for a week. Let's do it. And I know 2 weeks ahead of time. Like, oh, that's just changed. I'm like, I can't go now. So it's hard to commit right now. When my kids all go to school, I'll
Yeah.
probably go back for a week or two at a time and helping people out. I'll never be out completely, I don't think.
Yeah, and I guess when you do commit to a movie, you have to be all in. You have to basically, this is going to happen, so you kind of have to
Yeah.
make those arrangements. Yeah, that would be tough. That would be tough if you
It,
have young
it,
kids.
yes, it was fun when I was young and single and traveling all over the place, but now with kids and responsibilities and a business, it's hard to make that commitment.
Yeah. You have an interesting question at the end of your book. You say, if you could meet your younger self, what would you say to them? What have you said to yourself?
Oh man. I said stay the course, and I was always pretty much staying the course in life, and I kind of did this a little bit, and I think those little dips were valuable for me to know myself and to build my confidence and to know where my limits are. Um, but I could have maybe not gone so far and maybe done this instead of this. So I would tell myself, stay the course, keep confidence in who you are and what you're doing. Know that you're going to be okay. That somehow internally, even when I left teaching to go to LA to play slam ball, I had no money. I was broke. I was like, I'm gonna find out a way to make money. I'll put food on the table. I have my degree. I'm a worker. I bartended and did personal training and baseball lessons and summer camps, and I was never worried about I would be okay. So that mentality served me well because of my youth. I dipped a little bit in every direction and knew where my line was and knew how to stay close enough to the tracks, I guess. So I told myself, stay the course.
Kevin, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.